All right, good morning, Facebook and YouTube. Actually, let me make my post public on Facebook real quick. Because it's public on here, but it's not public on there. Hold on one second. All right, I think I made it public. Let me make sure. Believe I did. All right, I did. But last week of the NFL season for the Falcons, thank God. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa, last game of the season. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are trying to play to clinch the number 5 seed in the NFC today. With a win, they got the number 5 seed. With a loss, they're going to be number 6. If I'm the Buccaneers, I want to win this game bad because I mean the winner of this game. If you win this game and you get the number 5 seed, then you're going to either Washington, Dallas, or New York to play in the playoffs against one of those bad playoff teams in the NFC least. I would love to go play in that conference. I mean, why not? That's an easy playoff win. But as far as the Falcons really don't have anything to play for today. At this point, the Falcons are right now going into today as the number 4 overall team in the draft. This is the final game for basically, I think, this era. I think it's going to be the final game that we get a chance to see maybe a lot of guys. Julio's not playing today, of course. Alex Mack is not playing today. Um, I think that I think we've seen Alex Mack in the Falcon uniform for the last time. He's on the COVID list, so we're not going to see him today. But can the Falcons be competitive in this game? We saw that 2 weeks ago that they can. Do I see us winning? No. I think this is. I personally do not want us to win this game, and that may not be the popular thing as a football fan, but it's really no purpose of us winning this football game because the team is just basically not. This team has a lot of holes to fix this offseason. I'm going to get into talking about that momentarily. Hold on, let's see what Castro said. Cowboys versus Buccaneers first round of the playoffs. That will be intriguing. I don't know if you guys really want to deal with the Buccaneers in round one of the playoffs, but good luck on that. Um, let's see. Terrell said, "Love the content. Keep it up, bro. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that." But again, short term today, I don't really have a high expectation for the Falcons today. This is pretty much some guys could be playing for jobs for next season, for the new GM, for the new head coach. That's I'm actually going to be back on here this week to discuss that because that will be a topic of discussion that we have going forward. But in regards to this team right now, I don't really know. It's no point of winning this football game. Not watching as a fan because after today, we don't really know what's going to happen with this team. The state of the Falcons is so tricky at this point. We don't really know if the Falcons are at this point going to retain certain guys. Are they going to blow this whole thing up? What I do know is that the Falcons have a lot of needs. To be honest, really going into this offseason, the Falcons have way more needs than honestly winning this football game does nothing for us. Just to be honest, there's so many needs for the Falcon organization. It's not even funny. I can even go down a list. I just wrote down a couple of things that I could go over. In my personal opinion, there are a need at multiple positions. Let me see. Castro said before I get into that, do you think the Eagles going to beat the Redskins? I can see them winning that game because Jalen Hurts has actually played well since taking over that job. So that I don't think that the Redskins are a shoe-in to win that division tonight. I think the Eagles are going to be much more competitive than people think. I think that game could very well. I think the game between you guys and the Giants could very well decide the division if the Skins don't show up tonight. So I know I'm calling them Skins. I'm so used to calling it that. But back to what I was getting to is the Falcons have a lot of needs. Yes, we would be if okay. So before I continue, I've just mentioned about the draft. If the Falcons was to somehow win today, they would not pick no lower than 10. If they was to tie today, they would pick no lower than 6. And if they lose today, they're not picking any lower than number 4. Where the Falcons are currently put in the draft, the prototypical move right here would be to go get a quarterback. Do I feel that the Falcons should just settle in on getting a quarterback in this draft? It's split. I'm not against it because at the end of the day, Matt Ryan is getting older. We're going to get ready to have a new GM, new head coach, new offensive scheme. There's a lot of things that's going to change with this team after today. So, again, every new GM has their own wishes. We're not sure what this team is going to do after the season. So, that's one of the biggest things. Quarterbacks is one of the needs on my board. I also think that running back is a major need of this team. I got a chance to do some research before I even came on air. The Falcons, to be honest with you, I don't care what anyone says, you can have the most talent on the field in the passing attack all day long. We have Calvin Ridley. We have Calvin Ridley, who is an emerging top 10 receiver, in my personal opinion. You still got a Hall of Famer and Julio Jones. Don't know what's going to happen to him after the season, but he's on the team. Hayden Hurst is not a bad tight end. Russell Gage has started to emerge as a pretty solid wide receiver. But the biggest thing is this. You will not be no Super Bowl winning team. You will not see a team go deep in the postseason if you do not have a running game. I don't care what anyone says. You have to be able to run the ball because the Super Bowl season, I just wanted to go over this to add to my point. The 2016 Falcons, we were number 5 in rushing yards. We were 3rd in rushing touchdowns and 5th in yards per carry. The passing attack was in the top 2. We had a lot of stats of like 2, 3, and 1. We were nowhere away from the top 3, but we were balanced. That's why when we went into the postseason, we took out of Seattle. We took out of Green Bay. We should have beat New England. But when you have a balanced offense, you're going to go very far. You see most successful teams, just let's even go back to the Kansas City Chiefs who won the Super Bowl last year. That high-power passing attack got them there. Damian Williams ran for over 100 yards in the Super Bowl. He had 100 yards at the end of the game. He really should have won Super Bowl MVP, just to be brutally honest. But again, they ran the ball. You look at New England. New England had a rushing touchdown in the defensive game, but they ran the ball. If you get where I'm going with this, if you have a average or even above average rushing attack, it takes you further. Over the last 4 years, the Falcons' rushing numbers have tremendously dropped. I'm going to go down a list to you guys. Hold on, let me see. Julian said, hopefully you'll still be able to drive and try. No, sir. No, sir. Do not be. I appreciate the support, but do not be driving and trying to listen to me. But this year, I'm just going to go this year first. Then I'll work my way down to show where it's been trending down. This year, the Falcons are 28 in rushing yards. We're 26 in rushing touchdowns, and we have the second worst average in running the ball with a 3.8 rushing average per carry. The only team that's worse than us is the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, if we're going to see and talk about it, excuse me, I had my alarm set. But if we're going to get into their conversation, they have a defense. They made the postseason. They haven't been that successful over the last couple of weeks, but still, they've done enough to make the playoffs. But on our hand, we're a top 10 passing team again. You're a top 10 passing team because you have to throw the ball. You don't run the ball. But going back to what I was saying, where I was discussing the running back situation, we need a running back in this draft, maybe even 2. You don't need to go high. I know I've seen a lot of fans on Facebook and all over social media screaming Najee Harris. You will not take Najee Harris at number 4 overall. So please get that out of your head. This is not the 2000s. You're not taking a running back number 4 overall. If he is not a Saquon or a Zeke, you're not taking no running back at 4. Or Christian McCaffrey 3 years ago. You're not taking a running back at 4. Let's get that clear. You're not taking a running back at 4. But back to what I was saying. Todd Gurley is a former shell of himself. He's very anxious to really make anything happen at this point in his career. Brian Hill does not deserve to be on this roster anymore. And I like Ito Smith, but when you have a horrible offensive coordinator in Dirk Cutter, you're not going to be able to really do anything. You have all this talent on this team, and you really can't make a move. Let's see what some of the comments are saying. Hey, Peak Farm Princess. Hey, this is my cousin. She has an outdoor fishing and she has a lot of good content on her page. So for my YouTube subscribers, subscribe to her page on YouTube. It is Pink Pond Princess. Thank you for stopping in, cousin. Let's see. Aaron said, go get Zamir White in the second round. If he comes out, I'm not against it. But I do say look at a running back in the second round. I'm not against that at all. But overall, you need to get a running back in this draft because unless you want to give another year to Todd Gurley, which I don't think is going to happen, you got to get for one, and I've had this conversation off this podcast with a couple of my good friends. You got to get to a point where the Falcons got to know what they want to do with the new GM and new head coach. The problem is the Falcons have tried so hard to be the 2016 Falcons every single year since. But when you don't have a Kyle Shanahan, when you don't have a Matt LaFleur, who is now coaching the Green Bay Packers, who potentially have the number one seed in the NFC at the moment, you don't have those offensive masterminds, you're not going to make anything happen in that running game. On top of the fact, the other issue is you got offensive linemen who don't know the scheme. Is the 16 team fit Kyle Shanahan's scheme? Going back to Mike Mularkey, the early Matt Ryan Falcons knew we were a pound it first, control the clock, do enough to win type offensive line. They did what they had to do. The issue with the current regime is the Falcons don't know what they want to do. You want to be a high-powered passing attack, but you don't have a running game. Whenever we run the ball, we're not even getting 2 or 3 yards. It's embarrassing. But let's see. Aaron said, would you get an offensive line coach or a defensive coach? To be honest with you, I want to get an offensive coach. Oh, let me put the crown back up. All right. I want to get an offensive coach just to see what we can get out of this group. Because to me, you still have pieces on offense that can be successful. I'm not sitting here saying we're committed to the Matt Ryan, Julio era past 2020, but you have pieces in Calvin Ridley, in Russell Gage, in Hayden Hurst. You got guys who can make moves still. They're still young. So you got to start developing for your future. I wouldn't be against getting an offensive minded coach, but that also depends on who our new GM is. I think that plays a big factor in it as well. But I also say that we got to have a good offensive coordinator in here. We need some guys that can really produce a solid scheme because the Falcons have had identity issues since we got Julio Jones. That's just the God and the truth. And any Falcons fan that's been following the team as long as I have, they know that they can see it. We've been having those issues for a while where we 1 minute want to be this high powered, hey, we got all this talent throwing the ball downfield. This guy getting open, that guy getting open, that guy getting open. That's what we tried to be in 2012 when Dirk Cutter first got here. But then you look at the 16 team, we were balanced. We were very balanced in 16 to where it didn't matter who stepped onto the field. Everybody was getting the ball. We had games where Julio had 1 catch. I'm sure a lot of you remember that season. Julio had a catch in New Orleans, and we scored 45 points. That's not supposed to happen. But when you have a great offensive scheme, that happens. Let's see. Pink Pond Person said we need the coach that can pull the talent out of our players. I totally agree. And the biggest thing is the sad thing about this last couple of weeks is Raheem Morris is really not a bad guy in getting talent out of our players. The problem is you still have a mixture of the Dan Quinn's coaching staff. Raheem's not, I don't think Raheem's fully prepared to be a head coach right now. I think he did enough for us. I think he's changed a lot for us, but I don't think he's somebody you commit long term to as much as I don't think this is fully his fault. To me, his defense has played a million times better since Dan Quinn's been fired. But you got to start looking towards the future of this team. Let's see. Aaron said if the Falcons get a quarterback in the draft, how soon are you going to play him? That depends on a new head coach, honestly, because if you're getting a first rounder, if let's just hypothetically say we're going to get a Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, or Trevor Lawrence, you got to start building that. You got to start. It comes into the place where if all of you remember the Mike Vick, Trish Chandler situation in 01, you start gradually working that new guy in. Matt comes in as your starter in 21, but he grooms him. He's still on the team at the moment. Because at that point, if you go get a first round quarterback, you're letting it be known, Matt, your time is almost up here. We're going to get this guy groomed in because there's not a slap in the face at Matt Ryan. It's business at this point. And let me also throw this out here too. I know a lot of folks are not on board with moving on from Matt Ryan. I personally don't have an issue per se with Matt Ryan. The biggest thing is this. Matt's 36. This would be a whole new scheme. He's getting older. The plays that he was making at 25 and 26, he's not going to make it at 36, 37 with all the holes on this team. There's too many things that needs to be built on this roster for you to just say, let's throw Matt and Julio back out there for 2 to 3 more seasons. I think at this point, Matt Ryan and Julio are this the God of the truth. They did not do enough, in my personal opinion, to cater to the strength of your team. I don't think we've done it since 4 years ago when we went to the Super Bowl. From the coordinator scheme to the running backs to everything that's on this team at this point. There's not, to me, I don't feel like we went out and said we're gonna make this unstoppable offense to the point where, hey, we're gonna hang 30 every game. You just gotta slow us down. The defense just gotta do enough. If we went that direction, that's a coaching in a front office thing, just to be honest. But if we go that far, if we'd have did that, this could be a whole different conversation we're having right now. Let's see. Tevin said, "Clean house. It's time to rebuild. Time to stop living in the past. That Falcon team is no more." I agree. That team, that 2016 Matt Ryan, the Julio Jones, Sanu, and all those guys' team is done. They're done. I know a lot of folks are saying we lost a lot of close games. They're done because you don't have the coaching staff in place to get the most out of those guys before they walk. It's over. It is to the point where you got so many needs where it's not a knock on Matt and Julio Jones. They're going to go down. Both of them going to be the best, hands down, player in franchise history at their respective positions. The sad part about it is the team didn't cater enough to making sure to put them over the top. When you look at even going back to those Peyton Manning Colts teams, I'm not comparing Matt to Peyton Manning. What I'm saying to back in the day is Tony Dungy was a defensive coach. But you looked and you saw what they did in Indy. They built them lines. They got a running game. They got a respectable defense to the point where, hey, we're consistently in the playoffs every year. On paper, this is probably, if you give these receivers to give a Ridley to a Seattle, Buffalo, who else? Cleveland, who's in the playoff picture, Miami. You got a lot of these guys who could go on someone's team now and can help them take that next step, win an extra playoff game or two, potentially even be in a Super Bowl. You never know. But let's see. Tevin also said, flip that number 4 pick and get multiple players / picks. There's talent on the team, just a lot of holes. I totally agree. I don't want to stay at 4. I want to lose to get 3 or 4, but I want to flip that and get as much talent in this draft as possible. You got to start hitting in that draft. Do not sit here and wait and try to say we can roll with these 7 and let's try to run it back next year. We lost 7 close games. No, that would be the dumbest mistake that you could make is run this thing back. Don't do that. I don't care if we blew 5 leads. I don't care if we lost 3 other games less than 6 points. Blow it up. Let's start this thing over. Let's start building towards the future. Aaron said, I'm tired of seeing Julio run the same route. I feel like he's getting up. This crazy thing about it is, it's sad because I also criticize the scheme when it comes to that. Because some of the routes that are ran within this scheme, when you're watching the game, I'm constantly going off about it because it's like, what are you doing? It's ridiculous. And let's see, Pink Panther said rebuilding is the key. Absolutely. We have to rebuild. I don't even think we're at a point where it's can be avoided. I know a lot of fans aren't on board. They're like, let's go grab this person, grab a coach, grab this. You still got to start rebuilding in some aspect. You cannot totally avoid the rebuild. Even if it's not a major rebuild because of our cap situation, you still got to work a way up to the rebuild. Let's see, got off topic for a second, but what I was saying as far as our running game, 17, we dropped from 5th to 13th in rushing yards. We went from 3rd to 15th in rushing touchdowns, and we dropped 3 spots in yards per carry. 18. Now get ready for this drop off. Just the year that we were hurt. We went from 13th to 27th in rushing yards per game. Dropped from 15th to 23rd in rushing touchdowns, and we was 13th in yards per carry. That was the year that Freeman was hurt, and that was the end of the year that Tevin Coleman was here. That was a start team. But when Dirk took over, we had the 3rd worst rushing offense in the NFL last year. We were 24th in rushing touchdowns. That's another 1-step drop off, and we dropped 13 spots in yardage per carry. That's embarrassing. You're not winning that way. And we managed to still keep a top 10 passing offense. That's the problem. Give me a second. That's the problem. But 2020, this year, we have been very, very, very bad. We currently entering this game, we're 28 in rushing yards per game. And what? No, I'm wrong. We're just rushing yards for the whole season. We're 26 in rushing touchdowns, and we are the 2nd worst team in yards per carry. This is embarrassing. You're not winning games like that. I don't care who you got. You're not winning games like that. But to keep on to what we're discussing, I also said that we should be looking into a wide receiver at some point in this draft. I don't think that it needs to be a high need, but at the end of the day, Julio's getting older. So you got to start looking into the future for getting if you're going to keep Ridley, which you should keep, maybe even keep Russell Gage, you got to get you another receiver. Let them start getting, you got to start looking at it as if the post Julio era is getting ready to approach. You don't know what the new GM is going to do. We're going to find out this week, actually, who's going to be the new GM and head coach, probably, maybe even next week. We don't really know. Also, the Falcons have 2 offensive line needs because I'm sure Alex Mack either will retire or he will no longer be on this team after this season because he's making $8 million. He's 34 years old. You're not bringing that back. We need a left guard, and we really need a left guard. We have not addressed that left guard issue in a long time. I don't think we had a solid left guard since Justin Blaylock, just to be honest with you. Because even the Super Bowl season, I want to say, I cannot remember. Oh my God, I cannot remember his name. If you can remember his name, please remind me, because I cannot remember our left guard name the Super Bowl season. I cannot. I want to say it was Chris Chester. I'm not sure. Give me a second. Let me look over here to see if that's who the left guard was. If give me a second, I cannot remember his name. I want to give you his exact name just because I'm really going somewhere with this. Give me a second. Let's see. The starting in 2016. Okay, I want to say it was Chris Chester. It was Eddie Levitre. He was right. Chris Chester was the right guard. Levitre was our left guard in 2016. But we went and got a veteran left guard. That's another problem. The Falcons haven't even really went to free agency to try to address this offensive line issue. They've been throwing picks on guys and they can evaluate the talent really well. It's just been an embarrassing. Let's see. Tevin said, "What happened to girl who looked her to start tiptoeing and then never see him again?" I don't really know. That's a good question because as the season went on, his carries started to drop. They started giving Brian Hill the ball more. They started incorporating Ito more. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know why they started to back away from having him in the lineup as much as they did previously. Um, Also, just getting back into some of my needs. We need defensive ends, not one but two. We need to address that pass rush. That's another reason why I'm not opposed to going to get the defensive end Gregory Rousseau from Miami, or even get Micah Parsons to add to that pass rush. You got to get your pass rush in this draft. Plain and simple. You got to start looking towards that because we don't have a pass rusher. You're not winning in this league on that side of the ball without a pass rusher. Linebacker situation is kind of different. I think we got something with Foye Aluakone and Deion Jones. We got those two of the three spots. Michael Walker's been playing pretty decent this year, but you never can go wrong with adding to your linebacking core. Corners, we need them bad. I've seen a lot of mock drafts have us looking at Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech. I think I'm not against getting a corner, but I think we have more needs to take a corner again at the top of the draft. I really want us to look into potentially trading back because I think we just have that many holes on this team. And also, a free safety, in my personal opinion, will be another thing that this team needs to look into because the Ricardo Allen's going to be gone. I would be shocked if he's back after this season because he's been awful. I would have said a strong safety, but Keanu Neal's actually played pretty decent down the stretch. Know a lot of folks may not agree with that, but he actually has done enough down the stretch to me to get another year. But again, I feel like the Falcons have a very tricky situation. This is going to be a major. After this game, we don't know the certainty of this team. I'm definitely going to be talking about it much more even after this post game. I'll be talking about it. You're going to see some special guests on here this week. And anybody want to jump on and talk about the Falcons at any point this week, just hit me up. You definitely can do it with me. But I did say I want to talk a little bit about the playoff picture. Today is kind of I'm looking forward to, outside of the Falcons, looking forward to the playoff picture. We may end up seeing the Cleveland Browns in the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. The Browns, they need to beat Pittsburgh today, who's resting a lot of guys. They could make the playoffs in the AFC. They're currently, I think they're the seventh seed in the AFC right now. I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but the Chiefs are guaranteed the number one seed. They're not playing starters today. 2 through 4 is a toss up between Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and the AFC South hasn't been decided yet either because there's still one team that's going to reach the playoffs with 10 wins. Because right now, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Ravens, the Titans, and the Colts all can make the playoffs. But one of those teams is going to be left out. So I'm looking forward to see how that plays out. And then as far as the NFC, like I said, Tampa's trying to lock that fifth seed up today. There's still a possibility where Chicago can make the playoffs with a win against Green Bay. They'll be in. The Cardinals need to beat the Rams to make the playoffs in the NFC. If they were to lose today, the Bears would make the postseason. Let's see who else. The number one seed's not locked in yet either. We got a couple of things that can be done today. Green Bay wins the number one seed automatically with a victory over Chicago. If New Orleans is in a tricky situation because not sure if you guys have heard about it, but all of their running backs are out due to COVID measures. Kamara has COVID. They're benching Latavius Murray, and the other running back, I think Washington for the Saints today because of COVID concerns. And also, this is going to be a very interesting run for New Orleans. I don't know if a lot of folks have seen it yet, but there has been reports out that Drew Brees will be retiring after the season. That he's supposed to be taking on a job with NBC Sports as a broadcaster. So that's going to be a big, big loss for the NFL. I couldn't stand him as a member of the New Orleans Saints, but he is one of the greatest quarterbacks that we've seen in the last 20 years. First ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to be automatic in 5 years. So Drew Brees, we will not see Drew Brees lining up against the Falcons next season. So gonna be a real weird situation because even seeing Taysom Hill this year was weird, and not facing Drew Brees is gonna be even more strange for us. But as far as the number one seed, Green Bay loses today, and Seattle wins. If the Saints lose today, Seattle's the number one seed. If the Saints and Green Bay lose, Seattle's number one seed. If the Saints was to win today and Green Bay loses, the New Orleans Saints are the number one seed in the NFC. So 1 through 3 is not locked yet. It can still be someone to switch that number one seed out. And of course, 2 through 7 is playing next week. So that's going to be an intriguing thing to watch. Let's see. Got one more coming before I hop off here. Let's see. Aaron said, hopefully the Falcons get Kansas City's head coach. I would love to get Eric Bieniemy to see what he could do with our offense and see what scheme he wants to run going forward for this Falcon team for the future. But that's been our pregame show with All In with Nate. I will be on here after the game. We're going to get a chance to talk more about the post game. We're going to get a chance to talk about what the Falcons are looking to do past this game. But everybody enjoy your football Sunday, and I will be back on here after the Falcon game. Rise up.